Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Leslie Draper, and today's message is we're going to dish on that Oklahoma law from 1915 that makes fortune telling illegal in the state of Oklahoma. So I want to just wait a minute for people to join us so that because what we're going to talk about is important, and I really want people to hear the message the whole way through. So let's begin with Oklahoma as a state. So I live in Oklahoma, which is, as you know, part of the Bible Belt. That's how I became the Bible Belt mystic, was living in this part of the country. Oklahoma is known for being very conservative, for being a red state. We are known for wanting to create a legal system that reflects the religious history of the state. Therefore, a lot of our laws are actually issues of morality versus legality. So until the last decade or so, it was actually illegal to get a tattoo in the state of Oklahoma. We finally had someone that went forward and challenged that law and got it removed off the books because they had some backers and they just kept doing the tattoos and kept getting arrested. And they just refused to give up their right to have tattoos in the state of Oklahoma. So we have laws like that. Gambling is illegal in the state of Oklahoma. So unless you're in tribal land at a tribal casino, it is illegal even for you to have your office pot, those athletic things on who's going to win, and you have the brackets and everything. That's illegal in the state of Oklahoma. So we actually have a lot of things in Oklahoma that technically are illegal based on issues of, at one point, the lawmakers in Oklahoma determined that these were immoral and that people needed to be protected from their own immortality. Good grief, immorality. Okay, so that's how we end up with this law. The law is from 1915, and this law says that no person, either pretending or professing, may read fortunes or may engage in fortune telling in the state of Oklahoma. Now, what's interesting is this is by any means of profit. So if this is you're being paid directly or you're seeking a donation, either way it is illegal, okay? And so there's a lot to do about this law in Oklahoma and what it means for people in my profession. I want to start by saying, beyond any shadow of a doubt, I am not a fortune teller. That is not in any capacity what I do. I do not tell fortunes. I do not read fortunes. If you've ever had a session with me, you know this. I'm a minister. I do soul work. I see vertical time. I'm always reflecting back to you that the power is yours and that you can choose the life that you want. You can create the life that you want. And so I don't fall under that category of fortune teller no matter what. So it doesn't apply to me, period. But even with that being said, I want to say I feel like the law is outdated. I feel like the law needs to be removed. I feel like we need to honor free will and let people decide what is right for them and what isn't. This includes the right to get a tattoo, the right to go to the casino, the right to engage in an office bracket to win $20 on an office pool, or to go to a fortune teller if that's what you choose to do. So the law does need to be removed, and I'm hoping that by bringing it to the attention as we are right now, that advocacy will actually lead to that law from 1915 being removed from the books in Oklahoma. By the way, I also think whaling is still illegal in Oklahoma. So it's not that our laws are necessarily enforceable or common sense. It's that we have a long history of passing laws to legislate morality, and we do that a lot right here in the Bible Belt. Just look at some of the issues we have regarding other rights, that we have, and I don't even want to touch those controversial subjects. What I do want to say now, though, is why, okay? Because we can't really talk about this without why did Oklahoma pass that law in 1915? Why did Oklahoma make it illegal for fortune tellers in the state of Oklahoma, regardless of whether you're getting a donation of a quarter or being paid $1,000? Why is it illegal? And it goes back to this book. Okay, and that's what I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about the mistranslation that has resulted in this law, and the overall discrimination against people who are intuitives. And again, I'm making a distinction between intuitives and fortune telling, but all the discrimination comes from right here. So if you're familiar with the story of the Witch of Endor, you can actually read it in 1 Samuel chapter 28. And basically what's happened here is that King Saul has made being a medium, being a fortune teller, being intuitive or a psychic, whatever you want to call it, he's made it illegal, and it's punishable by death. Okay, but he gets afraid because there's a big army, and he gets afraid, and so he decides what he needs to do is he needs to talk to Samuel. And so he starts asking around, find me a medium who can talk to Samuel. And so he finds one, the witch of Endor, or the medium of Endor. And he goes to her and she says, wait a minute, why are you asking me to do this? Why do you want to talk to someone who's dead? Don't you know that's punishable by death? I could be, that's against the law. And then she realizes that it's the king standing in front of her. It's King Saul all along. And so she's saying, well, you're the one who did it. And he's like, I promise you nothing bad will happen to you. Just do this for me. Well, there's something in here I want to point out, and that is this. She says, I saw a spirit ascending out of the earth. Okay? Guess what? Transcended spirits don't ascend out of earth. They're in heaven. They're not in earth. When you're talking about a spirit in earth, you're talking about something else. Okay? So in other words, if you're summoning something that comes out of earth and it's coming up out of earth, you are not talking to a transcended being. You're talking to something else entirely. And that's why the spirit that appeared was angry and was mean and was very much, being mean to the king. And I angry at him for waking him up and all of that. Why? Because it wasn't really him. This was a dark entity in the earth that responded to being conjured or being summoned. And this thing was not a transcended being from heaven. Came up from the earth for a reason. When loved ones from spirit, they'll come down to see us. They actually come down from heaven. They come down from the spirit plane. They do not come up from earth. That is your first clue that something is major wrong right here. Okay? So basically, most of the laws and the rules against intuitives, against mediumship, and against even fortune telling come from this experience. It's one of the first ones that people will quote when they say, well, remember with the witch of Endor. Okay, but we're not really understanding what happened there, because if we did, we would understand several things. One, that whatever answered that call was not a transcended being, and this is why it matters who are you talking to. This is why I say don't play with Ouija boards. Who are you talking to? Okay? If you don't know how to tell the difference between an earthbound spirit or a dark spirit and a transcendent spirit, then you don't need to be talking to them, because it's easy to fool people. It's easy to fool a king. And that's why you have to have someone who knows what they're doing. And my guess is that the medium of Endor knew this, but she was so fearful for her life that she wasn't going to point anything out. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. That's just a speculation on my part. Now, I want to move forward to Matthew, and it is Matthew chapter 22, okay? And this is the part where the disciples are asking Christ and says, here's the thing. The old law said that if a man dies, his wife is to marry the brother, and the brother's to care for her and her children. But if that man dies, then she marries the next brother. And let's say that this woman has outlived 7 brothers. Okay, she's outlived 7 brothers. What happens? And whose wife is she in heaven? And I want you to hear what Christ said. He said, you are mistaken, not knowing the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven. Okay, but concerning the resurrection of the dead, have you not read what is spoken to you by God? Basically, what he's saying here is that, and then it goes on to say, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the living. We're talking about transcended beings who are alive. Even Christ said, when they get to heaven, they're just like the angels in heaven. They're just like the angels. That's what a transcended being is. That is who I talk to as an intuitive. If I'm giving a message from a transcended being, that's exactly who I'm talking to. That's who a lot of us are talking to. If we're giving messages from transcendent beings, we have the discernment to know, is something dark coming up? Or am I talking to a transcended being that is like the angels in heaven in the very words of Christ? Okay, that's the difference. And I know I'm a little passionate about it. My voice is going in and out because I had that cold thing going on yesterday. But that's the difference, my friends. And there's a huge difference. The 1915 fortune-telling law in Oklahoma was written to protect people at its most basic, one, from their own morality, but also from being conned by someone coming in and claiming, I can read your fortune, or I can remove a curse from you, or I can do whatever. Any good light worker is going to reflect back to you your own power. They're not going to take your power. They're going to be giving it to you, saying, reflecting back, this is yours. You're powerful. You don't need to go spend $1,200 to remove a curse. You don't have to buy a $900 candle. You know, you have everything you need within you. We just have to reconnect you to that truth that's already within you. Now, in the case of Sonia Marks, who is the woman in Oklahoma City who's been arrested several times now, you know, we had a little bit of a discussion going, and I now actually know one person that went to her that was not ripped off, but I know dozens who were. So I believe that charging this woman is correct. I don't think that it should necessarily be with that 1915 fortune-telling law. I think it should be exploitation. I think it should be something along those lines, because basically her tagline story was always the same. She offers a really low price to get you in the door, 45 bucks, 50 bucks, something like that. And she always tells you some version of the same story. You're cursed. You have bad luck on you. You have a family curse on you, a genetic curse on you through your genealogy. She tells these stories, and then she finds some type of fear to exploit. So one woman, her husband had just left, and she kept saying, you'll have to come back every week, and I'll cast a spell, and it will make your husband come back. This woman was taken for nearly $5,000. It was over $4,500 by the time it was said and done. That she gave Sonia Marks, or she told me, so I was told this personally, that she gave her all of that money to bring her husband back. I've spent dozens and dozens of hours in gifted sessions with some of her victims, trying to reassure them that they're not cursed, that you know, your husband has free will, or your child has free will, and you cannot manipulate them into coming back through a spell or through a curse, for that matter, and just trying to undo the damage that she has done. And so I do have one person that wrote on my Facebook that had a good experience with her and said, yes, I believe there's really some intuitive gifts there, and I do as well. Another woman who came to me, she was told that unless she gave her entire inheritance over, that she just gotten from her mother dying, unless she gave her entire inheritance to her, the fortune teller, that she would never have another dime, and that she would die alone and poor. But if she gave her the entire inheritance, then she would have more money than she knew what to do with. And so this lady came to see me, and I'll tell you, she waited until we were done. We were completely done, and I knew she wanted to ask me something, but the angel said that she had to ask. I could not intuit the question because it had to be her free will, because it had to do with the autonomy of her soul. And so as we're getting ready to walk out the door, she turns to me and says, am I cursed? And I said, why in the world would you think that? And then she told me the whole story. And this woman, the fortune teller at Oklahoma City, knew almost to the dollar how much this woman's inheritance was. Almost to the dollar. Another one of the ladies on my Facebook had something similar happen. A gentleman I know was told that he was cursed and he needed to buy a $900 candle and then pay $1,200 for a spell to remove the curse. So, you know, I am all for authenticity and honesty and integrity in the work that I do, and I want to see that reflected in everyone else as well. And so I do encourage you right now, if you were one of the people that were taken advantage of by her, reach out to the Oklahoma City Police Department and let them know that you had that experience, what happened, because I would really like to see her stop hurting people. I really and truly would. I mean, it's so horrible for her victims. It's horrible for the industry itself. It makes people not trust. You know, it makes people not trust any of us, because we all get lumped in there together. And so, you know, we do, the light workers that do what I do, we do a lot of good every single day. We're on the front lines doing good every single day. We can do good for 100 people, okay? 100 people. But all it takes is one person that was taken advantage of, like we have over here in this situation, and more people are going to be like, see, that's why you don't do it. If you don't, go to any one of the news stations, 4, 5, or 9, and read the comments on the reporting of Sonia Marks being arrested for that fortune-telling law. Read the comments. What you're going to see beyond any shadow of a doubt is people saying, well, they got what they deserve for being stupid, for going to, you know, a fortune teller. And so we have a lot of work to do here to maintain integrity, authenticity, and legitimacy in this field. And many of us are doing it every single day. So, you know, if you were taken advantage of, I do encourage you to reach out. Your privacy can be protected. Just let the police know. That way they can hopefully put a stop to this for good. I know it's embarrassing. You know, I know it's all kinds of raw, but still look into it, because maybe you're saving the next person, and you're probably correcting your own karmic imbalance with it as well. Okay, so the last thing I'm gonna say is what to do if you need to choose an intuitive. Okay, so here's the thing: when someone comes to see me, they pay up front via my scheduling system. If we go 2 minutes over, 20 minutes over, or 2 hours over, it is 100% a gift. I never collect money at the time of the session. It is 100% a gift if we go over. And so by knowing what the fees are, by paying them up front, and by never being charged for any additional time, I'm protecting myself from accusations, and my client knows that he or she is protected from having someone say, oh, you're cursed, I need you to give me $500. And so that integrity matters. The other thing is, do some research. It's kind of hard in this field, it's really hard to get testimonials for what I do, because no one wants their family, their friends, their loved ones to know that they saw an intuitive. Oh my gosh, that's just the scariest thing. I get it. I do, but you probably have people right now that need help, that just don't know where to go, and they could end up going somewhere greater. They could end up being taken advantage of. So sometimes sharing the message is really important as well. Letting people know that you found someone who was authentic, that was honest, and letting them know that way as well. Also, do your homework. Is this a phone-only reading? Is this an email-only reading? Or is there an office that you can go to? Some people work out of their homes, and that's fine. And as long as that's a stable place, that's legitimate in itself. But a lot of times if it's a masked phone number that you're calling and it's kind of sketchy and you can't get anyone to respond to your emails or whatever, then that's a warning flag as well. Although I will say this, I'm not real good about returning just inquiries, because you don't need to talk to me to schedule. You can just schedule yourself, and that's why I pay that scheduling system. So all of these are things that can help you stay safe. Okay, that's what I want for you. I want you to stay safe. Whether you choose to come see me or another intuitive, I just want you to know how to do so safely. I want you to know how to protect yourself, and how to always, you should be able to record your session. If you're not being allowed to record your session, that's another red flag. The prices should be clearly marked. You should pay for an allotment of time, and if it goes over, you should not pay for that. That's on the intuitive. So if it goes over, you don't pay for that extra time. The other thing I don't do is I don't ever tell people they have to come back. If I tell someone I need you to come back, then I'm going to have to gift you with that session. I always want to reflect back to you that you're a powerful person. You do not need anyone, including me, and that should you choose to come back, that's fine. I will happily see you, but I don't want you to feel dependent on me. I don't want you to feel dependent on anyone. So if your intuitive or your healer is constantly saying you're going to have to come back every week for 12 weeks, or I need you to come back and pay another $400 on Friday, that's another red flag. Okay, your healer, your intuitive should always be reflecting back to you the steps you need to do to fix whatever's wrong. It should always be reflected back to you. Okay, because the truth is, we're more powerful than we realize, and we have the capacity to create a magnificent life. We've just been separated from it. And so that's what we're going to have to do. So all of that, I know I talked a long time in this video, and gave you the reason for the law, why the law is there, what we're trying to do about it, how to keep yourself safe, how to choose an intuitive if you're looking for one. But most of all, what I want to say is, trust your gut. Trust your gut. There's a reason why I do these daily videos, and that is because I want to be as authentic and as transparent as possible. I want you to see who I am, so that you would know that I'm not someone that takes advantage of people. I am very honest. I truly care about people. This is not a job for me. It's a ministry. It's work for me. And that's why I do these videos. You see my real face, my real name. I share about my family, my children. For a long time, my office was in my home. You were coming right into my home to see me. So all of those things to me really demonstrate transparency and authenticity. That's what you need. And so if you're not getting that, you need to be seeking it, or you need to go elsewhere. And, definitely if any intuitive ever tries to make you afraid, if anyone ever tries to make you afraid of that you're cursed, or that you have a disease coming on, or that a loved one's going to leave you, walk out. Okay? Anytime they're making you afraid, that is your warning bell to walk out. That means they're trying to create dominance over you, to create a pattern of dependency, so that you feel like you have to have them to stay safe. or to get your loved one back, or to not get that disease, or to have that money. Anytime you're being made to feel dependent, that's a warning sign, walk out. Okay, guys, I'm going to go read through your comments. I really can't, now that I'm using a tripod for these videos, I can't quite see them because I'm too far back. But I'm going to go read through your comments, and thank you for commenting, and thank you for sharing the videos. That is encouragement for me to keep doing them. And thank you, just for being part of this journey. I'm happy you're here. Have a fantastic Tuesday, everybody. Namaste.